Another aspect of growing up, big influence on me, was seeing the wharfs and the breakwaters, especially the outer breakwater off of Sandy Bay flat ground and the Salvages, just wondering how these enormous slabs of granite made it 2-3 miles offshore. And were actually, when I was a child, there was about 3/4 of a mile of that breakwater above water level. And every year, the winter storms would come along because they were never capped off with the iron rods like you see on the Dogbar breakwater in Gloucester. So it would deteriorate over the years. So now, instead of being up above the water, it's just below the water, just a tremendous hazard to navigation. And thinking, wow, boy, what a town Rockport would have been if that had ever been completed, and with, I think, the second largest man-made harbor on the eastern seaboard if they had finished the project. It's just amazing. And then going up into Dogtown and Lanesville and Pigeon Cove and seeing the abandoned granite quarries. And there was one quarry left, Johnson's, where they still actually stored giant tractor-trailer-sized slabs of granite for the Providence Granite Company. They would come up and take them out periodically up until the early 70s, and they're all gone. But watching seeing the derricks up there and the huge guy wires holding those in place and the big hoists, and thinking, boy, that must have been quite an operation.
And the library director here has a connection to all this.
She does.
Her father was one of the dynamiters, one of the blasters in the granite quarries in Dogtown. Is that the song you're about to do?
Yes, it is. And I was moved enough to read Barbara Erfol's book, Hammers on Stone. And
is that a history of the whole
history of the granite industry on Cape Ann, which at one time, before the turn of the century, the 19th, 20th, was every bit as booming and vibrant as the fishing industry was. And a number of factors caused it to fall apart. So with Barbara's permission, I wrote this song, my one and only to date original, All Hammers on Stone. Across the seas the migrants came, they settled on Cape Ann. They found the stone beneath their feet, the hardest in the land. They drilled and split and hoisted it, they hauled it to the docks. They filled the holds of the stone sloop there to the waterline with rock. The stone sloop sailed from Granite Pier, Folly and Lynn's Cove. Up and down the coast they plowed through the wind and wave and foam, and through the hills and woodlands, out across the bay. The air would ring while the hammers did sing their long-forgotten tone of hammers on stone, hammers on stone. Building blocks and paving stones, cut and split by hand, ship them up and down the coast to build a growing land. Philadelphia and Baltimore, and New York City too, as far south as Havana, the mighty cities grew. The steam drill replaced the handset, the train, the horse and ox. The quarrymen filled the stone carts and hauled them to the docks. The Finns, the Swedes, Italians, the Irish later too, they hoisted rock from dawn till dark, and the quarries deeper grew. They built the piers and monuments, mighty seawalls too, bridges and breakwaters from the seas and rivers grew. Through the choking dust of the steam drill and the blast of the powder charge, the air would ring while the hammers did sing that long-forgotten tone of hammers on stone, hammers on stone. For 200 years they worked quarried out the stone. They drilled and split and hoisted it with muscle, sweat, and bone, and hammers on stone, hammers on stone. The concrete and the steel mill turned the granite boom to bust. They left the tools and the derricks there in the quarries to rot and rust. The maker's hand has healed the land with clear and soothing water, and fill the quarries to their brims to refresh the sons and daughters of the quarrymen that toiled there with muscle, sweat, and bone in the broiling sun of summer and winter's bitter cold. And their hammers on stone, hammers on stone, hammers on stone.
Bravo.